There are many ways a game can influence your mood, feelings and actions. The dialogues, music, story, art style and even game design are all powerful tools that game developers can and will use to make you feel the way they want you to, and to give you clear directions to follow. But one of the most obvious yet subtle and often overlooked tools used to that avail is the game's color palette. Obviously, it doesn't take years of studying design to understand that in every visual arts, colors are used with the purpose of setting a mood or with a stylistic intent. And luckily, most of the time, it does go a bit further than red is bad and blue is good. One of the simplest yet most effective way to use colors in movies or video games or any visual arts for that matter is to follow the traditions and stereotypes that others have created for us. For example, the cyberpunk genre has always been associated with dark colors, night skies, neons and blue lights. Using these colors is a good way to remind the players what kind of universe the game is set in. You don't need to show flying cars, human-like androids or grotesque body modifications for them to know that they are playing a cyberpunk game. You could also choose to break the traditions and go with a color palette that the players wouldn't expect. Eidos managed to do that perfectly with Deus Ex Human Revolution. By removing the traditional cyberpunk blue for a faded yellow, the developers were able to give a true identity to their game, making it very recognizable while still giving this obvious cyberpunk vibe. But what is truly unique to the video game medium is how colors can be used in harmony with level design and game design, magnifying the inherent interactivity of video games. To understand that, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a developer trying to make a simplistic platformer. First of all, we need a hero. This is a main character. It will be controlled by the player during the entire game, and thus will always be a focus point of the player. Because of that, our character must be recognizable at all time, so we need to use a color that won't blend too much with the background. Let's use white so that it will be easy to differentiate the main character from the rest of the level. Now let's imagine you're building a level with two different elements in it, interactive and not interactive. One of the best ways to make the players understand which objects they can interact with is by differentiating them from the rest with distinctive colors and heavy spatial contrast. Here I chose a dark blue palette for my background, giving an ominous and mysterious feel to the scene. The blue elements are not interactive, and only the black elements can be used as platforms. These black platforms look like they're an integral part of the level because they belong in this color palette. But at the same time, they stand out enough so that the players will realize that they can jump on them. Now let's add two types of interactive contraptions to the level. First, the power-ups will be colored in green. And then the elements damaging the players will be colored in orange. By using bright, distinguishable colors, the players will instinctively know that they can interact with these objects. And both the colors and the shapes used for them should be enough for the players to know which will have a positive effect and which will have a negative one, even without going through a trial and error process. Now let's add enemies to our level. To make sure that the players understand that these are foes and not friendly NPCs, we'll use a similar color to the one used for the dangerous spikes that we made earlier. That way the players will be able to make the connections between bright orange and danger, meaning that every time we'll use this color, they'll have to be wary of the immediate danger. To help the players defeat these enemies, we can add an indication on screen when they are taking damage. One of the easiest ways to do that is by using sequential contrast. For example, if the mobs are taking damage, they will turn to white for a short moment, to show to the players that what they are doing is working. If the game had shooting mechanics too, we could also add a red hit marker whenever an enemy gets shot at, for example. Finally, we have a coherent level, both story-wise and gameplay-wise. Using colors and shapes, it is easy to make stand out certain elements of your game, and to give a meaning to them that will easily be understood by the players, without having the need to explain the purpose of each element. No, obviously you don't have to stick to this very simplistic design. After all, the most memorable games are often those that subvert the expectations of the players, even when it comes to the colors they use. Some games manage to pull off the high contrast design very well, like Super Hot. This choice of colors makes sense from both a game design and lore perspective here, but most games use color in a more subtle and complex, almost cinematographic way. They will, for example, use contrast and lighting as a pathfinding tool when it comes to level design, a storytelling tool, a way to set ambience, and even as a game design tool. Because even in games aiming to be more realistic and lifelike, colors will be used with some purpose. For example, labeling NPCs or player characters depending on their functions in the game, or their relation to a group or faction. I find it very interesting how a tool as simple and obvious as colors can be used so extensively and with so much thoughts behind when creating a game. And when I think of a game that I liked, usually one of the first things that comes to my mind is how memorable the ambience set in the game was, and how beautiful its dark or colorful visuals were. Using an original, beautiful or smart color palette can sometimes be the little something that will make a game unique and fun to play. It goes to show just how deep you can go when developing a game, and how difficult it is to not mess up at any given moment to finally be able to come up with a great game. You've reached the end to this short video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, consider dropping a like and maybe even subscribing to the channel. It's the best way you can support me in what I do. With that being said, I hope you'll have a great day. Take care and see you soon.